You're watching a special presentation on IPL cricket brought to you by Dafa News. Royal Challengers will be facing Lucknow Super Giants today at the Ikana International Stadium at Lucknow. A win for the Super Giants will ensure their place at the top of the four in the standings. However, in the previous game against the Punjab Kings, the batting group amassed 257. Another benefit for the Super Giants is that their opponents, the Royal Challengers, Bangalore, have struggled to maintain the momentum given by Virat Kohli, Faf du Plessis and Glenn Maxwell, who've done phenomenally well and have done majority of the scoring in their 8 games thus far. Well, to talk more about it, we have an astute voice of the game, the cricket commentator from South Africa, James King. Welcome to the show, James. Did you see the match last night, the last ball finish between the CSK?
Yeah, what a finish that was indeed. My goodness. Who would have thought that after Jaiswal's won 24 and in the first game, and then with that the ending yesterday, just incredible. Tim David, 3 sixes off in the first 3 balls of the last over, just to steal that game away when it looked like for all love or money it was going to go the other way. So IPL this year has delivered some incredible finishes, it must be said.
Absolutely, some incredible finishes. In fact, we've got an upcoming game today, and which is the time of team likely which is going to be benefit from the pitch today. Pitch has played an important part. You know, when you look at the 200 plus strips, they've certainly given the excitement to the fan, and representing the fan voice, we definitely want the last ball finishes. Again, according to you, which team will have an impact today, and what is the kind of strip? If you've studied, what does it say?
Yeah, well, in strip at in Lucknow has been really the Ikana Stadium. The Ikana Stadium has been one that's not produced a lot of runs. I mean, we said the same again about Mohali, didn't we? And then LSG went and scored 257. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what it's not been particularly. It hasn't been there from this year's IPL. I mean, 4 matches played so far at the venue, and it's 2 for the batting team batting first, 2 for the team batting second. So it's not clear cut, is it? Weather conditions may play a part, but call it a 160, 170 pitch. Who knows? It could be a 250, 260 pitch if you've got somebody on song. So yeah, I reckon it should favour the home team. RCB on their travels for the first time really this season in terms of how the scheduling's working. So first match in a long haul for them away from home. So it's going to be, fascinating to see. One would think home benefit might be there for Lucknow, but again, hard to tell in this year's IPL.
Well, absolutely. You said there's going to be a little bit of challenge. RCB is in the docks. But more importantly, there's an interesting statistics, James, that we would like to draw your attention. Faf du Plessis and Virat Kohli are amongst the top 5 run scorers. Now, does that add the kind of thrust to the team? Because you have top 3 names, Virat Kohli, Faf du Plessis, and also somewhere at the 8th, 9th, you have Glenn Maxwell. Do you think the majority of the bulk scoring is done by them, and therefore it makes the other batters little brittle in the standing? Your views?
Yeah, I think if you can get amongst the top players there at ICB, the other players, as you said, other batters haven't really had the chance to stamp their authority. If you look at the LSG lineup, it's got batters that have had the opportunity all the way down the line. I mean, KL Rahul hasn't necessarily been consistently firing, although he's been he's been a bit slower maybe at the top, just building in innings, whereas you've had the boom, boom, boom coming from the guys further down.
Right.
So it's an interesting conundrum, perhaps. And if you don't get du Plessis and Kohli firing, I mean, Maxwell, for me, has always been a bit sort of hit and miss. When he's on form, he's absolutely incredible. And he can take a game away from you. But we've seen, in IPL, it's not necessarily the case that one player takes the game away. If they're not backed up by other batters along the line, and that's where in that amazing 257, LSG didn't rely on KL Rahul, that the rest of the team came to the fore.
Well, you have the stats going on our screen right now, which talks about some of the best performances between the two players. One little thing that we want to draw your attention to, of course, that will also bring smile onto you, Faf du Plessis. He's actually the second highest scorer, but the other interesting stat is that he scored 27 sixes as compared to the top run scorer, which is Jaiswal, who scored 18 sixes, which means that he's somewhere relying on his skill and the long ball hitting, the boom, 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 as you say. Your views, James.
No, I think it's something to do with the fact that he wears his shirt so tight, keeps those ribs in, and makes sure that he's able to hit the ball even harder and faster. So yes, he's been used really as an impact player, hasn't he, because of that rib injury, and it seems to have just spurred him on to greater heights, if you want to call, or lengths, perhaps, if you want to call it that from a six-hitting point of view. He just perfected his game, hasn't he, Sunil, over the years, and he knows his game inside out. He's able to take on the long ball and hit it really hard. He's got incredible strength. I mean, I think his forearms are as thick as my thighs. So, he's really, he's an incredible athlete. And I think that shows, if you look at just his experience as well, he's able to pick them and play that ball incredibly well. He's just in fantastic form as well. So he's got to be a key wicket for LSG today.
Well, let's take a step back and now concentrate on the bowlers right now. You've got a Mohammed Siraj somewhere at top number 3 who's looking at the purple cap right now. He's at 14 wickets and he's bowled 32 overs with the average of 16.64, and that seems to be pretty impressive with 13.71, and that looks pretty impressive considering that you've got the big names and the newcomers. Mohammed Siraj has held his fort at number 3.
Yeah, and his economy rate is outstanding. I mean, under 8 to the over. And if you look at that and compare it, across very favourable in terms of the average of fast bowlers in the tournament, currently at sort of 7.7 average for the fast bowlers. So, he is the standout, isn't he, for LSG? And in that top end, if you look at the power play overs where he has been particularly effective, so that's what they're going to be looking for, isn't it? They're going to be looking to knock over those two top order batters as quickly as possible. But if you get Kohli and du Plessis, let them get off to a start, then you could be chasing leather significantly across the park in the later overs. So.
Well, James, that's the statistics that we were talking about, the purple cap holder and the orange cap. Well, interestingly, another important fact that has come, all the leagues in the world, you have either a leg spinner dominate or a wrist spinner dominate the top 3. Here, surprisingly, Rashid Khan is at number 4 with Tushar Deshpande and Arshdeep Singh actually leading the front on the top 3 bowlers and then followed by Mohammed Siraj. Do you think somewhere this has changed and the playing conditions have changed, or somehow the batters have started to read leg spinners pretty well? Your views. Very interesting point a fan has made.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, leg spinners, as you said, Sunil, have been top of the pile for quite some time in this format. And we saw it actually in the SA20 as well. Rashid Khan, not necessarily as effective as he had been previously, and perhaps it is as you get further and further into this skill, the batters are now displaying against wrist spin. Might be picking it. You might be able to just read the length better and get to the pitch, or be able to play it off the pitch better. It's not been the opportunity perhaps that they would have expected. And fast bowlers have certainly needed to up their game in terms of variation, in terms of how they able to get different batters out and what the weaknesses and strengths are. So again, on the sort of, we've seen record scores in the IPL this year. So many records. You just look at the chase yesterday. First sort of successful chase over 200, and it's interesting to note that perhaps the tide is changing against the wrist spinners.
Absolutely. You also had Piyush Chawla doing an impressive bit last night for Mumbai Indians. Even at this age, he's bowling his leg spinners to the perfection. Again, an interesting point we had discussed last week is that you have the first team on the 12th point, which is the Gujarat team, then followed by LSG, RR, CSK and Kings 11 Punjab. All of them at the second spot with 10 points. Of course, the net run rate comes into play, but there's a huge gap. You have number 12, you have a team with number 12, and then you have 4 teams put together on number 10. And today's match, if RCB wins, they'll again join in the category of 10 pointers. So you'll have a situation with 5 teams on 10 points. Your views, James. What does it say about IPL?
Well, it says IPL is evenly matched, doesn't it? And that the squad strength is very evenly matched. And you've got those fascinating for what's going to happen going forward. If you consider we're only just over halfway through the season. And as we get down to the business end, it's going to be interesting to see if any team can get on a run of the victories. I mean, you look at the win-losses, and there's certainly not any team, if you look at the last 5 games. I mean, if Gujarat Titans head that with 4 wins in the last 5, but nobody else has got more than 3 wins in the last 5. And both of these teams today are part of that. I mean, 3 wins out of the last 5 for LSG, 3 wins out of the last 5 for RCB. So it's all to play for. And, if you're going to have 5 teams on 10 points, my goodness, how exciting is that going to be going into the playoffs?
Well, does that throw pressure on someone who's actually at the bottom of the team, which is Delhi Capitals, which is at number 10 with just 4 points? They have nothing to lose. They're just in the party, invited every year. Your views on this?
Well, I think they have the opportunity, don't they, to spoil the party for a number of other teams. If they start hitting any kind of form, they could make it quite difficult for teams above them, who might start to drop points. I just don't see how they can get into the playoffs from here.
James, are you saying, are they the party? James, are you trying to say they're the party poppers? I mean, they're the ones who can spoil any party?
Oh, they can. They've got the head party pooper up front there, haven't they? David Warner. I mean, he can spoil anybody's party. His great talent really hasn't come to the fore so far with the bat in this year's IPL. So it can be that Delhi Capitals are going to actually make it tough for some of the other teams as they go in to the final run-in. Dhawan back and Rabada back for them. What is going to happen there? It could be they just get on a run and make it really tough. Who knows? Well,
absolutely. You had the big names like the Maxwells and the Warners of the world. But let's take a step back. We all enjoyed Yashasvi Jaiswal's inning last night. He's on the top of the table. Again, another newcomer that we have here is called Rituraj Gaikwad for CSK. He's been at number 4, just above Kohli, scoring at a brisk pace. And he's amassed 354 runs as compared to Kohli's 333. But let's take a step back. We've got 2 of the big names. We've got 2 of the newcomers in the batting order, but again washed. You have Tushar Deshpande for CSK and Arshdeep Singh for Punjab. So what does it say that the leading bowlers and the leading batters in the IPL are somewhere the 20-year-olds? I think is the pendulum shifting?
The youngsters are coming in with fearlessness that is incredible. That they've combined skill with this youthful how do you say it? Their fearlessness or the ability to come in and just play anybody, and that perhaps wasn't the case before. So I think that it's a combination of skill. Conditioning is massive. I mean, you saw in the feedback on that incredible innings yesterday when Jaiswal's been working really hard in his conditioning. And that just helps you to play that ball a lot further. And I think that's something that we haven't seen necessarily before. So the players coming through are really working in the gym. They're working on their strength as well. Whereas that's perhaps something you've only seen out of the older players, older players that we have that have realised that and been working on that for a number of years. I think you've got that excitement coming through, and certainly the names you've mentioned on the cusp of playing for their country in the shorter formats of the game already. I mean, it's such a surfeit of talent that you have there.
Well, James, today's match, let's shift our focus. What's your take on the top three batters on both sides, and then we look at the bowlers?
Well, I think if you take the LSG have been a bit slowish in the power play. I think you have got the situation. I mean, Carmichael can turn any game on his head. KL Rahul, perhaps with the conditions at Lucknow, is going to be needs to be a constant for them, and that's going to be interesting to see how he's going to play that today and whether he's going to be the anchor in the innings. On the other side, RCB have certainly, if Kohli and Duplessis fire, then it's going to make it very difficult, I would think, for LSG to get over the line.
And what about the bowling department in both sides?
Well, I think, again, Mohammed Siraj and probably and Bishnoi hold the key for me for LSG. If you look at, unfortunately for them, they've lost Stoinis, so it may be likely that they're going to bring in. If we just look at who they're potentially going to be bringing in, might bring in the batter for Stoinis, but that does leave them a bit light on the bowling side. So it is, I'm not sure that you can look perhaps beyond the Pacers in terms of how they're going to do that. So Josh Hazlewood coming in for RCB, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that's going to work out.
Well, that's all we had time for. Thank you, James, for your candor and your statistical view about today's match and also the last night's cliffhanger of a match.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.